The Budget Speech 2.0 is just a day away, and if it does take place, consumers will also look for clues from it on how it will shape their financial stability, credit access and economic recovery. According to data from Transunion, 65% of consumers were able to pay their bills in full in the last quarter of last year, which is an improvement from the previous year. To what extent will this budget encourage economic growth that will further improve the finances of the consumers? To discuss this, the CEO of Transunion, Naik, joins me now. Lee, thank you so much. It's so great to have a chat with you again. Tell me about the numbers from the last quarter. They were quite encouraging that 65% of those surveyed were able to pay their debt in full. What were the factors behind this improvement from what your team gathered? All right. Naik is the CEO of Transunion. Thank you again. I think you can hear me now. So what I was asking is these numbers, the 65% from the last quarter of last year, that shows that most people were able to pay their debt in full. What were the factors behind this improvement?
I think there are quite a few factors. We've had 3 successive declines in the interest rates. And what that means is there's more disposable income in the households of consumers that have to service those debts. We typically look at TransUnion at an average household having a R1 million home loan and a 350,000 rand car. And what that means is close to R1,000 over 3 successive interest rate declines have put that R1,000 into the hands of a household to service down these debts. There are other factors that we've seen actually been quite beneficial for us. It's important to note that there has been quite a few withdrawals from the two-pot system, meaning that people have had access to more liquidity. So in a combination of factors, Liabo, from a decrease in interest rates to consumers deleveraging, we've had a tough economy for quite a while. We've actually found an improvement in our consumer credit index, meaning people have been more educated about taking on new debt. So with this combination of factors, we've seen an improvement in the health of the households, but clearly that is not including tomorrow's decision regarding the budget speech.
Yeah, speaking of tomorrow's decision, what measures from tomorrow's budget are needed to keep consumers from taking on more debt?
Well, I think in terms of the budget speech, it'll be up to the finance minister to tell you what instruments he uses. But clearly, one of the biggest concerns earlier in the segment was, will the finance minister increase VAT? It'll have a direct impact across all segments and generations in the consumer space. In terms of consumers, what I can tell you, though, is that consumers are highly leveraged today. If you look at the stats provided by the South African Reserve Bank, there's been an increase in the household debt-to-income ratio. So customers are still struggling amidst a slightly increased inflation in January. It went up to 3.2%. My advice as TransUnion is people need to be well aware that these sudden increases in pressure on the household income, be it an increase in interest rate or even an increase in VAT, may put them slightly above the line. So being well aware of your credit exposure, understanding your debts to your lenders, to your microloan providers, allows you to have better control of your financial health. And the best advice we give customers is understand what is in your credit report. Knowledge is power. And if you understand your current indebtedness, and if you are going to struggle, Liabo, reach out to your lender, reach out to your creditor and say, can I look at how I refinance or repackage my payments? Because you really want to be in control of credit, which is a key part to how consumers are able to afford their houses, their cars, and our day-to-day expenses.
Yeah. Lee, the small business sector will also be looking to this budget for clues of some sort of a lifeline for them. Take us through how credit barriers continue to impact on the growth of small businesses and what this budget ideally should contain to improve this.
Well, what we're hoping for the budget is some form of relief to our small, medium and micro sector. What we found in the last year, there's been a lot of positivity on the medium-sized enterprises that have found themselves in a lucky position where most lenders and banks are starting to extend more credit to the medium-sized enterprises. For the micro and the smaller enterprises from the rural parts of the economy, we've still seen a struggle to access financing. So if I was a typical small, medium and micro enterprise, enterprise. We're looking for some form of relief that allows these SMEs to access finance. And a large part of that comes less from the government policy or the budget per se, but actually in terms of how lenders start to see the potential in SMEs to take on this debt. So being able to better understand the potential in our small, medium and micro sector is what SMEs are looking for. We want a chance to access finances to grow our economy. And Liabo, your question is really important because a large proportion of the employment on the African continent, some 70%, comes from small, medium and micro enterprises. And given our high unemployment in South Africa, as of Q4, it was 31.9%. A large proportion is the youth. We got to find ways and hope the minister sets out opportunities for SMEs, specifically micro enterprise, to access more finance.
Yeah, Lee, at the end of the day, economic growth is what is pivotal, particularly in an economy that already grew less than the forecast at 0.8% in the last quarter. It only grew 0.6%. What levers are needed to improve the economy?
I think the finance minister will set out the big structural elements. What we've seen from my vantage point is that we're looking at an economy that should grow somewhere between 1.5 and 1.9% in 2025, given the various commentators. What we need as everyday small businesses and medium businesses is we need stability of electricity. It's been a key issue raised by the small, medium and micro sector in 2024. Stability of power will allow us to keep the engine room of South Africa growing and drive our economy. And of course, we need more ability to participate in the economy. A lack of jobs, specifically for the youth part of our segment, over 44% unemployed in the youth segment of 18 to 24 years. We need opportunity to participate and that allow us to hopefully contribute to GDP. And as you can see across the broader African continent, Liabo, we are seeing high levels of growth, closer to 4 to 5% in sub-Saharan Africa. We need to find a way to get South Africa's own GDP closer to those levels over the next 2 to 3 years.
Lee, thank you so much for your time. I've been speaking to Lee Naik. He is the CEO of Transunion Africa on particularly that budget speech that we are anticipating tomorrow.